Okay, let's take a look at what particle diagrams are going to look like when we are classifying pure substances and mixtures. So I have given us a few examples of things that we're going to look at, and we will. Okay, it's off up. Make sure I wrote everything down. We're going to look at some examples for this. I'm going to use bingo chips, so we're going to base it off of colors. And then we will look at some black and white examples because you may see both. So for an element, we know that an element is a pure substance. So it's homogeneous, same throughout. And it only has one type of atom. So there are two ways that this one could look. We could have some single dots around, okay, or we could have some that are connected, but notice these are the same color. We'll talk about these diatomic elements a little bit later, okay, but both of those are element types, plain individual colors or ones that are bonded. Now we show things being bonded or things being chemically connected by overlapping or touching, depending on what type of paper you have, are circles. Now let's talk about a compound. So a compound is still a pure substance, so it's still the same throughout, but instead of one type of atom, so only a single color, like we have in this sample or this example, we're going to have at least two. So I could have something like this. That would be a compound. Or I could have something like this. That can also be a compound. So it doesn't have to just be two. We could have several. And so both of those are options for a compound. But notice there's only one of them. So say that I wanted this to still be just a compound. I could put another set of that there, and that's still a compound. I just have two of them. Just like up here, this isn't a diatomic, this is a diatomic. I just have two of them. It's still an element. Okay. Now let's talk about if I had a mixture of elements. So that could be something like orange and green together. Or that could be something where I have that diatomic option. So say I have some blues. Well, if I can get it off. There we go. And then my diatomics. So this is a mixture of elements, or this is a mixture of elements. Or I can make it to where this had diatomics. That's still a mixture of elements. When we're looking at that, we're starting to look at colors. So none of these are bonded to a different color, so we know that they're all elements. And we know that they're a mixture of elements because they are different colors. So that's how we're seeing that mixture. Now let's talk about something with a mixture of compounds. So let's say I had this compound and this compound. So that's a mixture of compounds there. I can add a few more so we can kind of see what those look like. So we have a compound here and a compound here. Darken that up a little bit. So we have a yellow and green here. We have yellow and green here. That's one type of compound. Then we have blue and orange here, blue and orange here. That's another type of compound. So here we have two compounds mixed together. Okay. And our very last one is a mixture of elements and compounds. So we could have some compounds. Whoa. Say there's just a compound. And there's an element. Here's another element. Maybe we do another compound. Okay. So Here I have an element, compound, compound. So that is a mixture of elements and compounds. We will deal with this more when we start to talk about balancing chemical equations, and working with bingo chips will be one of your options. Now let's talk about what this will look like for us on a black and white piece of paper. So let me just move this out of the way. And let's check this out. So for this paper, we gave some options as far as A, B, C, D, E, and those are the same options that we just looked at. So checking these out, same idea, but this time we are looking at them in black and white. Let's do a couple of these together. So this first one here, all of the things look the same, so it is the same throughout. So I know that I'm going to have either an element or a compound. This is a pure substance. It's only one type of matter. So they have a black and two white ones touching, which means they're chemically combined. So I know that one's going to have to be a compound. So B. Now let's check out number 2 here. These are not all the same. Some of them are filled in circles and some of them are empty circles. So when I look at that, I know this is going to have to be some sort of mixture. It is more than one type of matter. So I have a single colored end dot, that's an element. A single uncolored end dot, that's an element. So this is going to be a mixture of elements. Let's check out number 3 over here. These are not all the same, so I automatically know this has to be a mixture. So now I need to decide, is it a mixture of elements, compounds, or elements and compounds? So let's check this first one out. I have 4 uncolored dots and 2 colored dots touching, so I know that that's a compound. So then I need to look at the other substance in there. That's 2 of the same color. If we think back to the diagrams we just did with the bingo chips, I mentioned that those are a special type of element called diatomic elements. So those are an element. Remember, elements have one type of atom. Here, your colors are representing your types of atoms. So I have a compound and an element. So my only option here is going to be a mixture of elements and compounds. Well, let's check out number 4 here. We know these are not all the same. These are definitely not the same. So we're going to have some sort of mixture. But I also need to know now, is that a mixture of elements, mixture of compounds, or mixture of elements and compounds? So checking out this first one, we have 2 different colors, so we know that has to be a compound. And right here we have 2 different colors, so we know that has to be a compound. So we're going to be looking at a mixture of compounds. Now let's check out number 7. All of these are the same, so we know that has to be an element or a compound. And then the other thing we need to look for is the colors. So this is one color, one type of atom, so this is going to be an element. And I want to look at one more example all the way down here. Number 13. Now, these kind of look the same, but if we look closely at where our dots are located, our particles are set up here. For this one, I have 2 empty ones and 4 colored in ones. But for this one, I have 4 empty ones and 2 colored in ones. So while the structure of them may look the same, because we have a different number of each, these are different compounds. So this is going to be a mixture of compounds. Be careful when you're looking at those and kind of watch how they're connected. Same thing's true for number 12. These all look like the same general shape, but some of them have 2 colored in ones, while some of them only have 1. So that will also be a mixture of compounds. Give the rest of those a try and see how you do.